Hello, everyone. I can't believe that we made it, but we did. It is officially the end of AcWriMo, or at least whenever you get done today. I'm so excited if you're joining me live or if you're watching this after the fact. November always seems like one of the longest months to me, probably because there's so much happening. There can be holidays, there can be the end of term bananas stuff. There's all sorts of hurdles that make it really difficult to even touch our writing for 1 second. So if you have engaged with your writing at all this month, you've won. You have fulfilled the purpose of AcWriMo, and you have hopefully gathered a lot of data that can help you move through the next couple of weeks. So this is going to be a short and sweet webinar. My goal is to help you take what you've learned from this month-long process, or maybe years and years of academic writing, and make a plan for the next month to finish up for the end of the year. Because a lot of us struggle with taking breaks as academics. I know that for me, I both would be thrilled to reach the end of the semester because it would mean less time on campus, less time grading, more time for my family, but also fully and truly panicked because there would be a whole list of things, human and scholar and all sorts of tasks that I put off to do during the break. So let's talk a little bit about what December might look like for you and what you can take from the AcWriMo experience to move forward. So there will be a variety of questions that I ask you. You can reflect on them in your head. You can pause this recording if you're watching it later and write them down. But these are questions to help you kind of move through what this month was and start to move it forward. So the first question that I like to start with is, what was the moment where your writing felt the most fun or the lightest this month? It doesn't have to be fun or light. It could just be less dreadful or less heavy than normal. But what was the moment this month, the month of November, that your writing felt the most fun or the lightest? And as you think about that moment, the follow-up question is, what contributed to that sense of fun, that sense of playfulness, that sense of lightness? Was it that it was your very first day of AcWriMo and you knew that you were not alone writing? Was it that you had like a little spurt there in the middle where things felt really exciting, you were working consistently, and it felt fun to get to your desk instead of like a chore or a dread? Was there a moment where you re-engaged with one of your sources in a new way or found a new source and it just felt really good to think some new thoughts and put those down on the page? But what felt fun and what felt at least a little bit less dreadful? And as you think about those conditions that added to it, I wonder if you could, in our third sort of related question, um, brainstorm one or two ways that you could translate that sense of fun into a future writing session. So, if it was the sense of community that made it feel really exciting, could you find a writing group? Could you make dates with your friends to write at the coffee shop that has the best Christmas lights and the best outdoor seating? Could you join the Thrive PhD community and participate in work togethers or retreats? Maybe you want to um, maybe you want to set up a recurring Zoom meeting with friends that you haven't seen in a long time, where you all sort of work together and really lean into the body doubling. If it felt really fun to daydream about a chapter, like somebody is sharing in the comments, what could you do to build in a little bit more of that future planning into your current writing? Maybe for every 4 days that you work on a certain chapter, you spend one palm working on a future chapter. Like, where you maybe read 25 minutes of an article. You could free write for 25 minutes about some of the ideas that are coming up as you're working. I know that I loved to plan and think about and read for whatever chapter I was not actively drafting in. So building in a little bit of time to do that kind of future work felt really satisfying to me, and it might feel really satisfying and fun to you. Always, it's a little bit stressful to consider the work that we have not yet done, but any time that we can engage in it, it often moves us forward. Okay, so the next round of questions is about the things on your plate for December. And this is a technique that I often use in my community and with my clients. I call it a brain dump. I didn't invent it, but I would love for you to pull out a piece of paper or your to-do list app or kind of wherever you keep your tasks and make a list of all of the things that you could do, or maybe feel like you should be doing in December. Go through that list, just write it all out. Maybe you have to grade 75 papers and do final exams. Maybe you have been putting off cleaning the bathroom or cleaning out the fridge. Maybe you have a bunch of holiday gift shopping to do. Maybe there are travel arrangements to be booked. If it's on your brain, keep going. Put it on a piece of paper. Be as specific as you possibly can, because I do find that this can be a humbling experience when you see it all written down, but it often leads to a little bit of clarity. So I'll give you a minute to start to dump out some of those tasks while I have a sip of my water. Now, the reason why the brain dump is such a powerful tool is because it allows us to see externally to ourselves all of the pressures and tasks and things that we've set ourselves. One of two things can often happen, and for some people, both things happen. One thing is that your brain can be so clouded and crowded and buzzing. I often liken it to the feeling of like bees buzzing in my brain with all of the things that I should be doing. And so I can't settle on anything because there's just like tasks pinging in every direction. And so a brain dump helps me kind of like freeze time a little bit, see all of those things out on one paper, and lessen a little bit of that buzzing feeling. The second thing that can happen that I see, and it can happen concurrently and it can happen separately, it really depends. But maybe the second thing that's happening is that you have a whole bunch of things that you need to do, but only one or two things really stick at the front of your mind. And it's really difficult to remember all of the other things. I can get like this when I'm working on a really big project that has like a future deadline that feels really close or urgent to me. So, if I have a chapter due at the end of the week, it's very easy for me to forget all of the other grading and course prep that I need to do, or the administration, or the house cleaning, or sort of any of the other stuff. And I find that often during breaks, or if you're moving into a month like December where it can have a little bit of a disrupted schedule, it's really easy to get hyper focused on one or two tasks and then not balance some of that time and energy into some of the other things that you wanted to do, planned to do, were daydreaming about doing. So having a brain dump where you see all of the things can help you make more one-to-one comparisons instead of just going with whatever's off the top of the brain. Off the top of the brain is usually an anxiety filled layer of the brain. And so, if we have a list of all of the things that we want to do in December, then we can make some slightly more informed choices. So, with your brain dump, I really encourage you to make a three-tiered system. So, some people I know like to color code it. I personally like to put it in columns, but your columns or color codes should sort of break down into these three categories. These are the things that you must do in December, or there will be immediate and severe consequences. So often in this list is things like I need to, submit final grades. I need to grade my finals. I need to book my travel. I need to do X, Y, or Z. Those are the things that if you do not do them, there will be immediate and severe consequences. The second column are all of the things that if you did them during the month of December, they would really benefit future you, January you, 2024 you. So these are things like it might be really beneficial for you to get a head start on that chapter so that when you do have like a February 15th conference, that there is something on the page for you to work with in the busy, hectic first weeks of the new semester. Maybe it would really help you to get some sleep over the break because you have been cruising on less sleep than you normally would like to do. And that sleep is really going to benefit future you. Things in that column are the things that you want to give time and energy to, but if you didn't, there would still be a way out of it. If you don't submit your final grades, there are often consequences for your future employment. And if you don't sleep, obviously there will be consequences, but they'll be a little bit less severe. And in the third column, list out all of the things or color code all of the things that it would be great if you got to them, but if you don't, no real harm done. These could be tasks like, I really needed to wash the baseboards. I needed to deep clean the washing machine. I need to clean out my backpack. I need to start working on that grant that's due in April. Of course, it would be great to get those things done. It would be great to have clean baseboards. It would be great to get a head start on that grant that you're working on. But if you don't do them, nothing is really going to change about your life in the immediate short term. So I love having this list because it helps me be more intentional about where I'm spending my time and energy in a month like December, where I can be bouncing around in different locations, traveling, and it's really hard to stick to a consistent schedule. So I look at my list and I'm like, okay, I have 2 work days in between this crush and that crush. So I'm going to pick something for my A column and really focus on that. And if I get a B or C column done thing along the way, all the better for me. But I really do want to focus on this A column. So when you separate your tasks out like this, it can be really helpful to be like, okay, so many of these things are important. I would argue that many, if not all of the tasks that you have on your list of things to do in December are important. But the real game of being an academic and being a scholar is that very few things are urgent until they're so urgent that they're on fire and the consequences are really severe. So having a sense of what things would be really helpful for you to do, what things absolutely need to be done, and what things can be put to the side can help you manage your resources. Because as you've learned, hopefully in a month like AcWriMo, our resources are so powerful, but they are also limited. You might have limited childcare. You might have limited energy. I know that often I would come out of a semester and I would need to sleep for a couple of days because I was so tired. You might have limited time at your desk with your working setup just the way that you like it. Maybe you have truly precious limited time with family or with friends and you only get to see them once a year, and you want to make sure that you're using that time as well as you possibly can because it might not come around until next year. So looking at your resources and then your tasks and seeing, okay, what's going to be the best balance here? I probably can't do everything on this list and also recuperate perfectly and enter the new year perfectly rested. So what are the most important things to me? And really, that's what an academic writing practice teaches you how to do. It teaches you how to balance all of the things that you could be doing, all of the things that you should be doing with the actual realities of your day to day writing practice. And I hope that there was at least a tool or two, a worksheet or two, a guest speaker or two that you learned from to help you say, okay, this is how I can do this maybe a little bit more efficiently, perhaps a little bit more effectively, so that I can make better use of my time because I can't create more time. I can't just say I'm going to write 500 words a day and not adjust my schedule for that at all. So I know that every month in November, when I really turn an eye towards my writing practices and am intentional about it, what things am I asking for myself? What things am I trying to do? And how am I adjusting my life to accommodate those things? I learned so much about the way that my brain works best under what conditions, about what things help me stay motivated. And it really helps me remember that there's so many different ways to move forward. You can move forward a tiny bit every day. You can move forward in big waves and big rest periods. You can move forward with an every other day rhythm. You can move forward in all sorts of ways, infinite number of ways. What's important is that you are paying attention to your resources and your tasks. Because eventually, if you plan more tasks than you have resources to complete them, that's the recipe for burnout. That's the recipe for disengagement, for missed deadlines. That's what happens. I've never met an academic who was too lazy to finish that paper or get something in on time. It's never because people just didn't want to do it. It's because they ran out of the resources to get it done. So, if you take away anything from this month, I hope that you take away the idea that writing is really hard, that being an academic is really hard, that there are very few structures that support working in sustainable rhythms, but there are tools and supports out there for you. And I encourage you to move forward into December and maybe even beyond with a sense of experimentation because you don't know if something's going to work until you try it. And there might be a bunch of things that don't work for you, but they're worth finding out on the path to figuring out what does. So I look forward to seeing you all around the neighborhood as the year winds down. Make sure that you check out your final AcWriMo email today. There are 1,000 cool new things in there, especially some words about the end of the year sale that I always throw. So please know that you have my deepest gratitude. I love doing this every year. I love providing all of these resources, and I hope that you got something good out of it. Have a great last day of AcWriMo, and I will see you around. Bye, everybody.